What is up, my friends? It is your host, Nick Anderson, also known as Amongst the Whiskey, and today we are getting into the latest batch of Russell's Reserve 13 Year. After a 1-year hiatus, we have Russell's 13 Year once again. This is the spring 2025 release, also known as Batch 6. It's back and it's bolder than ever at 123.8 proof. That's an increase over what we saw with Batch 1 through 5. That was bottled at 114.8 proof. I personally have tasted Batch 1, 2, 3, and 5. Obviously, Batch 1 is one of the best of all time. But I've got a glass of Batch 6 here to let you know, my dear friend, if this is worth $200. I remember when Russell's 13 first came out, and I thought, $70 for a 13-year bourbon? This is the best deal in whiskey. In hindsight, I probably should have hunted that down to the ends of the earth. Bought 100 bottles if I could. Because that, my friends, was a 5 out of 5 whiskey. I'll drop my reviews of batch 1, 2, and 3 down in the description. So it's with that experience of those previous batches that I'm going to bring you a thoughtful insight to batch 6. You can see I'm not new to this bottle, and I've even dished out a sample to my co-writer, Jes Smyth, who's going to be covering the written article for Russell's 13 Batch 6. But you stuck with me for the video, so let's get into it. Oh yeah, in that glass, it has that beautiful hue, very traditional color for Russell's 13. Definitely some good color to it. Nice caramel hue. Onto the nose. Ooh, it's very light and dainty. I get a saltwater taffy, a lot of vanilla, maybe a little bit of white pepper in here. Tons of linen. It's a little interesting. Definitely a little bit of a far cry from what I remember of previous Russell's 13 batches, but just to be safe, I've got a glass port of each of them too. Where batch 1 was very fruity, batch 6 here is very woodsy. Not just oak, I mean it has the entire forest in there. Think your spruce, your alder, your maple, all of those woods jammed into this glass. Batch 6 definitely nosing a little more like batch 2, batch 3, again, leaning into some of those hyper-aged whiskey aromas. On to the taste. Okay. Wow. The extra proof here has definitely made this a bit bigger of a whiskey, and I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing. Across my tongue, I'm getting some of those harsh, jagged edges of a whiskey that's maybe not blended to perfection. Okay, flavors. I'm getting a little bit of raisin, graham cracker, a tiny bit of clove encircling the very edges of my tongue. Right on the fringe, right where tongue meets cheek. First impression, I don't know that I'm super impressed by this. I think this might be a bit of a step back from previous batches. But Nick, ever the planner, I've got batches to explore. Okay, comparisons for batch 5 on the nose. Ooh, more fruit, more raspberry, more dark chocolate on batch 5, for sure on the nose. These are starkly different whiskeys. Get a little bit of a campfire vibe going on in here. Ooh, maybe a bit of a cigar smoke and just a sweet buttercream frosting riding underneath. Let's go for a sip. But yeah, okay. Raspberry, nougat. I like sipping batch 5 a heck of a lot more. Winding back the hands of time, we're going back to batch 3 on the nose. Oh my Lanta, that smells like hot cocoa in the middle of December. That smells like Christmas in a glass. Oh, it's so juicy and creamy. Wow, I like this even more. This easily beats out batch 5 for me. That is one of the most expressive and fun noses that I can remember in recent memory. And it's sad I had to go back a few years in order to experience that. Maybe says something about the bourbon industry today. On to the taste. Stop it. I don't want to drink anything else. I just want to drink this. Batch 3, what are you doing to me? That's a near perfect whiskey. Maybe it even is a perfect whiskey? Well, my rating in that article down below would suggest it is. My, that tastes like heaven. Cherry skins, tart strawberry, this beautiful cookies and cream mouth coating that just tantalizes every taste bud. It's like ciabatta bread with just a sprig of rosemary and oodles of olive oil. This is what exceptional whiskey tastes like. Batch 3 Russell's Reserve. You win. But of course, for posterity, I shall taste Batch 2. But first I'll nose it. This feels much more traditional. I'm getting the typical wood spice notes, black pepper, allspice, clove, as well as oodles of caramel and molasses. Give it a swirl. Ooh, definitely got some heft, some spice. This has a little bit of prickly complexity in a good way. Time for a taste. Okay, Batch 2 on the palate. The nose was understated. The palate is not. Very pervasive, a little less sweet than Batch 3. Think more preserves, more tart, dark red fruit. Still in the raspberry plum family here, but a little darker, more brooding. It has some sugary chocolate tones, maybe a dark chocolate backbone. Kind of resembles trail mix, where it has just a kiss of nuttiness swinging in on the undertone here. Yeah. Batch 2, more the quiet, contemplative type, takes a little bit of coaxing in order for you to really appreciate some of its depths. But the depths that I have plumbed so far in this glass, this is a knockout whiskey right here. So that brings us back to the subject at hand. Russell's Reserve 13-year Batch 6, the spring 2025 release. Is it worth the higher cost? Well, we'll give it one more taste to find out. Definitely still a very nice nose here. This is not by any means a bad whiskey. The reason that I'm juxtaposing it with the rest of the batches is that the quality of all these Russell's Reserve 13 years is so astronomically high that reviewers like myself and Jes have to really split hairs in order to give you a reasonable opinion. And while the flavor profiles vary slightly from batch to batch, at the end of the day, the base quality of the spirit, the distillate, the whiskey that Wild Turkey produced and then aged, has an inherent quality to it. So putting opinions and personal preferences aside, how we really review whiskey is by looking at its quality, its underlying characteristics, how it should taste, if it's well made. And I think that's the problem with a lot of reviews today, is people conflate their personal preferences and the flavors that they like for a score in whiskey. That's my big problem with the 100-point rating scale. The reason that I use a 5-point rating scale on amongstthewhiskey.com is to simplify that experience. I really want to deliver the most clear, honest, and thorough reviews on the internet. And if I'm failing in that mission, let me know down in the comments. Last chance, Batch 6, to really wow me. These taste buds know, yeah, this is fun, fruity, definitely has some bubblegum tones, by the way. Really cool whiskey. But in terms of delivery on the palate, I'm looking for a little more mouthfeel. The way this lands on my taste buds is a little bit drying, a little bit off balance, a little jagged. There's sharp edges to it. I really want this to be a 5 out of 5. Wild Turkey is one of my favorite distilleries of all time. But at the end of the day, you're judging me on my honesty. And if I'm digging in my heart of hearts for the most honest take on this whiskey, I think it's one step below the previous batches of Russell's 13 year. I don't think it lives up to batch 1, 2, 3, or 5. The furthest disparity, I think, from 2 and 3. 5 is kind of a middle ground. Maybe this is kind of in the same realm as 5, but 2 and 3, and certainly 1, are all leagues ahead of batch 6 here in terms of quality. And so it's a little bit disheartening seeing a price increase and a quality decrease. And if that doesn't sit well with you, well, vote with your wallets, friends. But that is all I'm going to have for you today. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, keep it amongst the whiskey, friends.